wellness industry, the optimization industry, therapy, self-help. It's like a $9 trillion industry.
Oh my God.
And everybody is claiming to have the answer to this problem.
Yeah.
And these answers that they sell to you often reinforce the premise because they just produce more effort, more checklists, more morning routines, more ways you have to regulate yourself, more data you have to track to see how your heart rate is at this stage of sleep, and on it goes, just to end up feeling tired and exhausted, feeling that you're doing it wrong. And man, there must be really something wrong with me.
Hi, and welcome to Lens of Hopefulness with me, your host, John Passadino. In this episode, I interviewed Lacey Kelly. Lacey is a psychotherapist and author of multiple books. She wrote Already Human: Why the Culture of Self-Improvement is Making Us Feel Broken. God is a Dirty Word. A Cultural Reckoning with the God We Left Behind. And The Process of Unbecoming: A Different Relationship to Being Human. I thoroughly enjoyed my lighthearted but deep conversation with Lacey. I felt like I was in a psychotherapy session myself. And I know you will too, because we shared, both of us, many insights for me and my personal situation, and how Lacey listened so intently and applied what she has incorporated in her books into our conversation. By the way, her books are all available on Amazon.com. So I hope you'll enjoy this episode, and please don't forget to subscribe to Lens of Hopefulness with me, John Passadino. Thank you.
Analyzing life.
Considering the answers.
Lens of Hopefulness with John Passadino.
With guest
psychotherapist and author Lacey Kelly.
Welcome, Lacey, to Lens of Hopefulness with me, John Passadino. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, John. I appreciate it.
And how are things out in Arizona, where you reside? How's the weather?
Really good. Yeah, I'm in northern Arizona, so our weather is much better than Phoenix.
Okay.
So it's beautiful right now. It's like 70s in the day, 40s at night. It's like perfect.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm in New York, but we're going up and down the temperature ladder, like 10 up, 10 down, but it's all good. It's spring. So I see you have 3 different books on Amazon, which I think is amazing into itself. But the latest one is, which I have on my Kindle, The Process of Unbecoming. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I got the whole title in because I can't say it. But The Process of Unbecoming: A Different Relationship to Being Human. And I'm so intrigued with that title. Can you tell me what aside from it being a book, what is the process of unbecoming?
Great question. So the process of unbecoming is a response that I've had in working with folks in therapy. I'm a therapist, and seeing a need for how to work with people who are struggling with very human experiences that are tending to get more pathologized that may not actually be pathology. And the core that I see in this is the premise that people go into self-help or therapy with is that, and it makes sense it's this way, but that there's something wrong with them, they're not good enough, or that they're somehow broken. And that until we address that premise, the work itself can become rather fruitless because it tends to set up a pattern of effort that often reinforces that premise they came in with. Because if you're not addressing that core feeling, it tends to repeat itself through the effort that you're trying to engage with to fix it.
Wow.
So the process of unbecoming, it helps to unbecome all of those things that told you you were not good enough or broken in the first place, because that has never been true. And that's really where it starts, is the core idea, principle number 1 of the process of unbecoming is that wholeness is inherent to every human being. And when we operate from that place, everything starts to change on its own.
So, and I'm going to flash the book real quick if I can get my mouse to work. That's what the book looks like. It's on Amazon, everybody. And I'm going to now ask some follow-ups, and that is that, would you say that in order to unearth the core issue in someone, are you using psychoanalysis to do that? How do you uncover the root problem, the root issue?
This is something that I've noticed over my years as a clinician, is that most of us boil down to about the same 2 or 3 core issues. It's a pattern that I've seen over and over and over again. And those core root feelings tend to be in the ballpark of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, or I'm broken, or I'm deeply alone. And so there must be something fundamentally broken within me that just repels everybody. So really strong isolation.
Right.
Now, why and how so many of us in our culture have come to believe that fundamentally is a big question. And I do with my clients, it's helpful to understand the relational dynamics that may have conditioned them to believe that.
Okay.
But I'm recently shifting a little bit out of purely focusing on childhood relational dynamics and even looking at structural at large of what we've created in our society over time, measured up against what we're biologically designed for as human beings.
Wow. That is really intense because you have so many layers going on there.
Yes, there's a lot of layers.
I give you credit because not everyone examines the layers. And I've been in psychotherapy on and off for a very long time. And I'll give an example. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which was developed by Dr. Albert Ellis and another person, I don't recall his name, and there have been offshoots with that. But Albert Ellis was from the school of get over it. Okay, so your mother didn't treat you right. So what? Move forward and don't even address it because it's not even a factor anymore. Just keep overriding it, suppressing. And then I've seen the other school where it's psychoanalysis, where, let's examine a dream you had, or let's try to draw out the specific moment, like when I was left alone in the hospital when I was 4 years old. That's the root of it all right there,
Right, yep.
So it's, I like the fact that you're taking the approach where it's almost, I'll call it like a holistic approach because you're including all factors.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the core principles which you outline in your book. Let's go over those. I can't even begin to try to iterate them because I don't know them well enough, but I know you have them in your book, and which I have on my Kindle. Everybody, if you're watching a video, you'll see me look down because that's my Kindle. There you go. Because the book's on Amazon. So let's talk about the core principles, as you call them.
Yeah. So the core principles are grounded in reality as we see it. The things that are fundamentally true about human beings. And not everybody will agree with the core principles. It's more of a philosophical statement or argument I'm making. I think there's some science that goes along with that as well. But primarily these are the facts of being human. And when we operate from these premise in the book, that things get easier. So the first one that I mentioned already is wholeness is inherent.
Yep.
And wholeness is inherent is so important because it takes the shape for everything else. So when we believe that we are whole and complete as we are, and within that wholeness holds our worth and our dignity as human beings, it holds the vulnerability that reaches and can feel and connect with other people.
Yeah.
When we believe we are all born with that, it can't be taken from us. We die with it. We're born with it. We die with it. No experience takes it away. Then we can start to look at, well, then why do we feel like that's not true? How does that come to be? And that leads into the second principle, which is identity is adaptive.
Okay.
Do you want me to pause here or do I keep going?
We're on a roll here. I actually brought it up in the book too. I'm following along what you're saying, and I see identity is adaptive, which, I have to say, this is so impressive. I've interviewed so many people that are psychotherapists. I've been to so many psychotherapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. I'm not absolutely proud to say, but I have been in and out because I'm a GA.
Me too. It's okay.
Generalized anxiety, panic, sufferer for. So I love the analysis. And okay, so let's go right into identity is adaptive. Let's talk about that. Yeah, segue in. Go right ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So identity is adaptive. When we're, human beings, one of our great skills is that we can adapt to any environment. We are really good at adapting.
Right.
And the unique thing about childhood is that our identity is forming alongside our skill to adapt to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So identity development is happening simultaneously. We are in an environment that we cannot control. So those adaptations that we use to connect in our environment and get our needs met later become the things that we might say are our personality or patterns that we might have. And we're pretty exclusively adapting to the emotional weather of our home.
That is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I will just say this is that oftentimes people say about different aspects like religion or the kids never went to church and they never went to Sunday school, or they don't teach prayer in school anymore. They don't let the kids pray. But I'm like, everything happens in the home. Everything starts in the home, in the environment. That's what my opinion has always been. And I think that's what you're saying, is that the environment in the home, if it's a dysfunctional home, then there's going to be dysfunction. The person is going to adapt to that dysfunction. Am I getting that right?
With dysfunctional or not. And this is a really important part about the process of unbecoming, because I've had to really stop and slow down and get curious, like, why are so many of us feeling so broken?
Right.
I could probably pull 10 people off of the street, and more than likely, if not 10 out of 10, at least 9 out of 10 people are going to feel like they're not worthy on some level.
Right.
And it just makes me wonder why. Why are we all feeling this way? And so humans adapt regardless of the environment. We're going to adapt in a positive home. We're going to adapt in a negative home. We're going to adapt to function. We're going to adapt to dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's an adaptation in and of itself is the important part. Because adaptation isn't necessarily who we are. It's just what we needed to do in that environment.
Okay. We needed to... Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I want to zoom out here even more, because when there's so much pressure on the home as well, because I agree with you, and it's the spirit of my book that, yes, it happens in the home.
Right.
But then looking at even bigger, what is the nature of the home environment in our modern culture? Biologically, we're designed to be raised in groups of 25 to 150 people. Mm-hmm. And now we're lucky if there's 2 parents in the home. Mm. So how did that happen, right? Like, how, that breaking apart of community and communal settings has been devastating for child rearing.
Ooh.
So there's so much pressure on the parents who are also, and now in these generations, were also raised in a single family home.
Right.
And now we have a group of parents with young children today that put so much pressure on themselves because, God forbid, they have any moment of misattunement. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to mess up my kid because they cried in their room for 3 minutes without me,
Right,
so it's intense.
Yes.
So part of what I think is causing this overarching feeling that a lot of people are holding is an environmental mismatch between what we need and the structure of our living that we have. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit of an aside from what I talk about in the process of unbecoming, but I think it's important to mention, because that identity as adaptive piece is not just about dysfunction. We adapt even in the homes where there's been attunement and stability, are still going to produce a child it has some level of not good enoughness involved because the parent is trying to support a nervous system that needs more than one or two.
Yeah, and it's also, I would ask if you agree, it's parental approach too. I mean, there's this core that you're talking about, and a standard, the overarching points that you're making, I totally agree with, because I grew up in the 1960s, and there were relatives across the street, living across the street from me. The parents were all out in the evening. The parents were all out talking on the stoops, and the kids were playing right in front of the families. There was like this community of people that were always looking out and over us, and and mom was home. She did some work from home. I sewed pillowcases together. I remember my mother did. And she was always home. And then dad came home at 4 o'clock, and dinner table, and everything was very structured. And it's completely different, as you said, today, for better or worse. I mean, the better is that more women are in the workplace, able to work now. Which wasn't the case in the 1960s. I don't think my mother could have gotten a job at that time. But that evolved over the years. And now I'm not blaming the women's movement for where we are today, by the way. It's just an evolution of how it progressed. But what I was going to get at was that if a parent is immature and not ready for parenthood and has their own issues, it could be an anxiety disorder, a temper issue, or a borderline personality disorder or whatever, that also skews everything in another direction, correct? Would you say? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, parents' influence are huge. And if a parent struggles with their own emotional turmoil or different things going on for them, it certainly will trickle down to the child. But I think what I'm kind of getting at here is that there's also a lot of other factors.
Okay.
And our field, I think, has overemphasized childhood and the single family home.
Okay.
As the sole cause for everybody's problems.
I see.
Which it's like a piece of the pie, and it's a significant piece of the pie, but it's not the only piece of the pie. Yeah. And if it's a big piece of the pie, I think it's worth for all of us to look at why and how it has happened that raising children is so hard nowadays.
Yeah, that's a great question. Do you have the answer?
I think I'm starting to understand some of it.
Okay.
The structure of our society does not help parents. And it's gotten bigger and bigger as time has gone on, because now parents that were raised in certain environments, it's the same as it's always been, passing that down, the parenting styles. But I think at a certain point, a lot of people want to do differently than their parents did. And
absolutely.
They attempt to do that. I think everybody attempts to do that. But looking at why it's so hard, I think there's just a lack of community, a lack of resource for parents.
Okay.
A lot of pressure on parents, and we're not designed to just be raised by one or two people. I mean, I think back to my great-grandmother, or my grandmother, I'm sorry. She was raised, they were immigrants from Syria, and they were raised, she grew up in New York, and they were raised she had 9 siblings, generation, more than just my grandma and her mother came. There were generations living in the home, and they continued intergenerational living until my mom was born. And then my mom and my grandma went off and, got the single family home. And then my mom, even smaller unit after that, because she moved away from where the cousins are. And then now we're in our isolated, more Western culture home.
Yeah.
And having that break apart of extended family, and it's almost in a large way an American value to leave home, to go out, build your own life, and leave the family, which can be helpful and I think a positive change. But when there's no tether anywhere, and then you start having children, and you're having a child in a place where you don't have any family, no support, you still have to work because economics are hard.
Yeah.
Daycare is extremely expensive. So the bandwidth of parents nowadays, and I think in a couple generations past, is so much less.
Right.
And I think we see that in the children. So even though parents are doing the best they can, they're only able to do, so much without the support that nervous systems need to develop. And part of this comes down to shame too. So when we're raised without adequate support, we're way more likely to feel shame for things we've done. And shame needs relational repair to resolve. And when the same people who are evoking the shame within you are the same people who are expected to repair it, it creates a relational mess. And the positive thing about having community and support around you is that if a child is feeling shame for something they've done, there's other people they can go to have that relational repair. It doesn't have to come from the source of the shame.
Very good.
It can come from anybody. Relational repair is the key. And that's really where I think people are lacking.
Wow. You're bringing up so many thoughts, and I have to try to stick to one at a time because I want to say so much. But you hit a key, and I'll tell you a real life example. On that block where I grew up, I had a cousin across the street that was like maybe 6 years older than me. And first of all, I was the heavy kid on the block. Didn't get picked for sports. I thought everything I did was wrong. I had ADD in school. I could not pay attention. I was lost, completely lost. And in Catholic school where they were very strict. So I was like, and either you were smart or you were lazy and stupid. I mean, seriously, that's where it was back then. Now, my cousin took me under his wing, and he used to do car repairs and build these hot rods and stuff. And he said, come hang out with me. And he took me to work with him where he worked on cars, and he bought me lunch, and he talked about his jobs and how he worked. And he built my self-esteem. I was like, look at me. He would take pictures of me holding a tool, even though I really wasn't working on the engine, holding a tool in front of the car, take me for rides in the car. And that relationship went on for decades, on and off. We both went off, got married, we got off, and, grew up and all that. But he's always like a big brother. And then he became a big brother to my kids also. So I think that's an example that popped into my head. It takes one person to outside the home. And that was because of that community.
Yep.
Because today, I mean, my sons are grown now. They're 33 and 31. They only had a couple of cousins. I had dozens. The family you described in 9 people. My father had 12. My mother had 7. So I had so many cousins. And there were other cousins, too, that I was close to. And I had 3 siblings, too. But all of that community supported me. And I think back to, even though I had issues growing up, like panic and anxiety, what would I have been without that support system, that community support system?
Exactly.
God only knows. Okay,
exactly.
So I'm taking us off on tangents a little bit, but...
No, sorry, that was me. My fault.
I wanted to talk about the next one, the next principle. Capacity is inherent.
Capacity is inherent. Yes, that's another one. So capacity is something that we talk about in the relational field, therapy field, as something you build, something you develop, a skill that you have. And I have seen it time and time again that capacity is always within us.
Okay.
So the capacity, and what I define it in the process of unbecoming, is the ability to meet experience at all. It's the ability to be with what is happening. It doesn't necessarily mean perfectly regulated, as we might describe it today, that you're not reactive. What I'm talking about with capacity is the ability to meet experience. And what can happen in early environments, and not just in the home, but again, if we're lacking support outside of the home as well,
yeah,
our nervous system is we're born with the capacity to meet experience, but we need other nervous systems to let that capacity continue to grow as we develop. It will develop whether or not we realize it. We don't have to do anything to develop capacity in human development. It just does.
Mm-hmm.
So our ability to experience more widens as we grow.
Okay.
Now, what can interrupt that process, not necessarily the development of it, but our access to that capacity that has grown, is how much of that nervous system support we had. This is the process called co-regulation that people might hear or sound familiar. That we settle into our nervous system capacity through the nervous systems of others around us. Through a presence, someone just being there. Then we settle into our nervous system capacity. So if there weren't many people there or no one there to help you settle into that capacity, it doesn't mean it never developed. It just means we don't know how to access it.
Okay.
So in the process of unbecoming, we look at how do we access the capacity that is already here? And that's something I track with my clients in session is like, where is their capacity and their potential to meet it?
I am so impressed. I'm not just saying that. I interview a lot of people, everybody out there.
Thank you.
Let me just bring up the book again. For those on YouTube, you can see the book cover, The Process of Unbecoming, A Different Relationship to Being Human. I'm with Lacey Kelly, and we're having this, I feel, amazing conversation because the approach that you take is so unique. And not only that, by the way, Lacey's not paying me to butter her up, by the way. I don't work for her. It's this. I want to make another observation, too, is that your energy, your demeanor, the way you speak, the way you look. If I had to invent a psychotherapist that I wanted, no offense to my psychotherapists out there, but you're like a model psychotherapist. You're just so calm and you speak so clearly and calmly, and you just have this like soft aura about you. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that.
Thank you.
But you do.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, and you don't have to send me an Amazon gift card for saying that. Okay. I'm being cognizant of the time, and I want to get to there's 4 principles, correct?
6, actually.
Oh, okay, so we better get moving to. Wait, before I go further, though, I want to get back to you again. I'm not looking to embarrass you or anything. I wanted to let's give a little background to how you got to this level where you were able to write this book and figure all this stuff out. What is your what are your licenses and your educational background? Let's give some of that to the folks out there.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've probably taken every training under the sun for relational issues, complex trauma, attachment issues, all of that. But I would say that's had very little to do with my development of this book, and more so my own personal experience in self-help and having a desperate feeling inside of myself, like there's something wrong with me. And I had that angsty feeling from a very young age, paired with a very, I would say, obscure tendency to think about the existential. I mean, when I found out Santa Claus wasn't real, my next question was, am I real? Is anything real?
Wow.
So I've kind of just always had a temperament towards questioning what we're doing here. Why does it seem like being here is so hard? Because I would watch adults around me really struggling. I started yoga when I was 12, and that yoga studio for me was a big launching point to who I am today, and the things I believe. But it helped me start to change develop a different relationship with some of this. I also engaged in a lot of spiritual bypassing, starting those big practices so young. that I kind of re-entered the practices in my early 20s with a different lens.
Okay.
That helped me a lot. But yeah, a lot of it came through my own feeling of I'm trying everything they're telling me to do to help with this, and it seems like I'm just getting more tense.
Sounds so familiar. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that is like
my clients.
Has she been spying on me? Wait a second now. But yeah, it's you see the patterns. I'm joking,
Yes.
but yeah, you see the patterns. I see it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank you for giving us your background. I wanted to talk about the what I see on social media. There are so many. I think we talked about this in pre-production. It's kind of like we're on the thread now. You get all these. I've heard the term toxic positivity, where somebody is shooting out memes on how we should, they are doing so incredible because they've taken this one particular course, or they are offering this one particular course, and it's like you can be rich and be on the beam, and just look at these 3 bullets.
Yeah.
And so you see these one after another. It's like, how come I'm not feeling this? I have the stickies all over my office, and I'm reading them every day. How come I'm still feeling it? So I think that's part of what you're talking about, is this self-worth issue again, and how it needs to be, how we need to get it to the root of it, of why it is the way it is, which you've gotten to in this book. Now, I'm going to digress again. I'm going to go a little backwards. The book, I read through, I didn't read the cover to cover, but I flipped through it. And the book has these concepts that are, I am used to reading many self-help books and psychology books and psychiatry books on my own. And like I said, I've been involved with psychotherapy for so long. So I'm used to hearing these concepts and terms. But is this book written, do you think, to the layman, to the person that could pick this up and understand it? Or are you gearing this toward a professional? Who are you gearing the book toward?
I wrote it just to, make sense of what I was seeing in my clients and in work. And, I think over time it's kind of shifted to be probably someone who's been involved in self-help before, that has somewhat familiarity with their internal state and, how they're, what's not working, or if they're feeling discouraged by self-help or therapy. Definitely for clinicians, I think more the entry point, or to start to question this, could come from the book Already Human that I wrote actually after the Process of Unbecoming, because I recognize the Process of Unbecoming is a little dense. It's like, it's just not a light read, you kind of have to think about it. But Already Human speaks to this cultural element that I'm talking about, that we're being told over and over that being human isn't enough. And that the Process of Unbecoming and Already Human is based on the idea that we have everything we need to navigate life inherent to being human. Okay. And we just have to understand it to use it.
Okay, let's go back to some other books that you have. There's the one, Already Human. I'm putting up, for those watching video, Already Human, Why the Culture of Self-Improvement is Making Us Feel Broken. That's also on Amazon. And you had talked about the existentialism and Santa Claus and God, and spirituality. You also have a book, God is a Dirty Word, because I'm really intrigued by that book. That I want to talk about that, but I know all of these kind of interrelate, I would think.
Yes.
To what we're all talking about. It's almost like this is triumvirate, this triple. It's almost like they're meant to be written together. They could all go into one book and be chapter 1, Already Human, chapter 2, God, about God, and chapter 3. So something, and if you do consider that someday, I want some residuals for suggesting it. I'm just kidding. Now, where were we on the?
We're on moving on to principle 4.
Yes, protection precedes pathology.
Yeah, so this one is about those adaptations that we develop in our early upbringing and development, adapting to the environment, later become the things that are most likely to be pathologized. So
Right.
these are going to be relational patterns we feel stuck in, behavioral issues that may come out, or just a sense of feeling off or wrong, that we then go into self-help or therapy thinking these are the things that are wrong with me. And if these things weren't here, I would be fine. Or these are the reasons that I'm broken, or they become the evidence to reinforce the premise. There's something wrong with me. I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And what I propose in the book is that those adaptations are actually the protection that we need to protect the vulnerability within us. So that inherent worth and wholeness. We're born vulnerable, and humans have the instinct to protect what's vulnerable. So when we feel that vulnerability is threatened in any way, protection comes out. And that protection is often what we misconstrue as who we are. And the hard part about protection is that it protects that vulnerability inside, but that protection then causes isolation internal to the self. So we have a hard time accessing our own vulnerability. And then it's harder to feel connected to others as well, because we don't know how to access that vulnerability. So the protection can create those deep feelings of aloneness. But when we relate to them as protective rather than something wrong with us, the intervention changes and the protection tends to soften through the relationship that we build with it.
I don't know, Kelly, where have you been? You belong on Oprah. Sorry. Hey, everybody. Let's start a letter writing campaign to get her on Oprah. I mean, my show is fantastic. It's Lens of Hopefulness with John Passadino. But this is like some really heavy-duty, advanced stuff that I have not heard expressed this way. Chapter 5, the human condition. Wait. Did I move too far ahead?
Change happens through relationship is principle 5.
Oh, okay. Change happens through relationship. Okay. There's 6 of them, so we're going to hit the last 2, and then we're going to go back and talk about those other books.
Sure, yeah. So the last 2, change happens through relationship. It's time and time again, study after study shows that the best thing, the primary thing that induces change in therapy is the relationship between the therapist and the client. And over again, we see the most healing thing for shame is to be in relationship with another person who can witness it and not judge, right? They can hold presence. Relationship is the way that we change. And I think one of the hard things about our culture is that self-improvement largely says you have to be a certain way before you engage in a relationship.
Yeah.
You have to be regulated. You have to do your work, do the inner work, heal your inner child. Then you can really connect with people.
Yeah.
And there's some value to that, but I've seen it taken to a different kind of extreme where all the healing work feels like it needs to be done in isolation, which just reinforces the protection that's there in the first place. So the relationship doesn't have to be external, although I think that's the most powerful, but the internal relationship to oneself as well. So when we're talking about that protection in principle 4, it's changing the relationship you have to these patterns and seeing these patterns as evidence that you are valuable and vulnerable. If you weren't, there would be no protection, So that vulnerability, that inherent worth and wholeness that we have, the protection, all these patterns we have that we're frustrated with are the very evidence that prove that worthiness is in there.
I have to.
So, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, finish. Yeah.
But it's just that shifting of the relationship can already start to soften some of that shame and lead to access to that capacity we were talking about earlier, which allows you to be in relationship with others.
Folks who are listening or watching, I have to go back and listen to this myself again because I think it may hold the key to what I've been going through in my life. I mean, I have gone through exhaustive work on myself to the point where it's just ridiculous. And I think that's what you're getting at.
Yes.
Is all these pressures, and whether it's the memes or other books I've read, and then I just keep, judging myself. Why? So this is a methodical approach and explanation to what I've experienced, and so many others too.
So many other people, yes.
So
people are burnt out.
So I commend you for finding this thread. I truly do. But now we have to get on to the sixth principle.
Yes. So the sixth principle, the human condition is complete.
Okay.
We are perfect beings. And when I say perfect, I don't mean flawless. I mean whole and complete. We are complete beings living in an imperfect reality. We are imperfect in our human condition.
Yes.
And a lot of us try to make the human condition perfect. We try to make the human condition all good. And then we take this bad as evidence that something is wrong. And it's kind of shifting back to see the human condition has everything we need again to be human.
Yeah.
We need the good doesn't exist without the bad. Happy doesn't exist without the sad. And when we get to that side of the spectrum of the human experience, it doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. And we have been so trained to interpret adversity or challenging feelings or anything that's very natural in the human condition as somehow wrong and shouldn't be here. So the human condition is complete, is to renew that sense of everything we need is here, and that includes the muck.
Yeah.
And that because we are whole and complete as we are, and we have that capacity to experience it, it doesn't mean it's wrong, and it doesn't take that away.
I'm picturing, as you were talking, the yin and yang symbol, the two complementary, the balance between the two. And there's a Buddhist expression I've heard, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
Yes.
So we're going to have pain in our lives. We're going to have grief. We're going to go through changes. We're going to get sick sometimes. And we're going to maybe grow up in a dysfunctional home, and maybe we're not going to have community. But we don't have to be tortured and suffer because of that. That's the human experience that we all are going through. Yeah. And unfortunately, there are traumas too, of course, that are horrible and tragedies and all that. But I like your methodical blueprint to cope with what's difficult in life.
Yeah. And the human condition, it exists within the wholeness that we all are. Like, I kind of see that wholeness as the thread that holds us all together and holds ourselves together. And the human condition's just moving through, it's like the weather. And when we're grounded in that wholeness, it's okay. It doesn't have to be different.
Love it. Now, I want to get to your previous book, well, the one I have had up, and that God is a dirty word.
Yeah.
How does the spirituality, and by the way, that's available on Amazon along with the other books, which I'm bringing up on YouTube. If you're watching the video, Already Human, God is Broken, and the book we were talking about earlier, again, The Process of Unbecoming. But let's talk about God is a dirty word. I love that title. It just really grabs you in. It's like, wait a second, I got to read this. When I saw that, I was like, whoa. I'm sure a lot of people are going, whoa, what is she saying here? Because you were talking about the spirituality and all that discovery you made. So let's talk about what that book is about, the concept and all.
Yeah. So human beings, we naturally gravitate towards meaning and worship and something bigger than ourselves. It's inherent to our species.
Yes.
Across time and history, we have all experienced that. This is just in our bones. And this book is about the loss of that in our culture. But because we have lost it, we are orienting beings in that way. We're filling it with things that aren't spiritual in nature. And this really came from my own experience. And I speak specifically about God here and not the secular kind. I talk about God as the biblical God, in
Okay.
this book, which is uncomfortable for a lot of people. I know.
Yeah.
I've been one of them. So I talk about my own experience as a very secular person. I grew up in the New Age. Like I said, I started yoga when I was 12.
Yeah.
You know, my mom's pastors were psychics. We were all in it, and I have been. My first career, I was a yoga therapist before I was a clinical therapist. And I somehow developed this aversion to God and
Okay.
anything to do with God. I would have to specify that I believe in something, but not that God. There's this, I don't want to be associated. And that's understandable because the institution of religion has caused harm. And I didn't want to be associated with anything that has caused harm. A lot of us do that with good intention. And this book is more of a proposal of, was there something there that we threw out when we threw out the institution? So if we throw out the institution, does that mean we need to throw out all the contents as well? And what does it look like to develop a relationship with God that isn't founded in the institution itself? And just even being open to the question. I say at the end of the book, like I end that book saying, I don't know. I still don't know. But now I have a Bible on my crystal shelf. You know, I have a Bible next to my tarot cards where I get curious of, is there actually something in here that can be useful?
Yes.
And I have found it to be really cathartic and helpful for me. And I'm not even necessarily saying that God is the one we all need to organize around. Although there is an uncomfortable truth that our country was founded in those values
Yeah.
that do mean something to Western civilization. But that to just even be open to questioning your own defensiveness around it and whether it was inherited, something you experienced, and what have we replaced with God as it's left our culture. And that's really kind of what the core of the book is about. It's my own personal journey with this, and also the things that we have oriented towards worship that we may or may not have realized we've done that. And one of them is the self-help, wellness, politics, relationships, you know. It talks about all that.
I absolutely love it. I'll be honest, I didn't get to read the book. I did purchase it. It is available on Amazon.com, everybody. And I get 10 cents for every copy sold. I'm just kidding. I do want to read it, and I do want to talk more in depth about it someday. If you'd be willing to come back, we could. If you say no, I could edit that part out. He said, absolutely not. No way I'm coming back. Well, that gets edited out.
I would love to come back.
Thanks, because there's so much ground to cover, and that book is right up my alley, just like the other book is. But that's one. The whole God concept. It's so huge. I'm looking up because I have a picture of Jesus up there. I mean, I have like a million self-help books and books about Jesus behind me on the bookshelf. And it's something, I struggle with my faith and what's going on with religion all the time, and the harm it has caused. Again, I commend you because you're taking, I'm going to use a holistic view. You're seeing the entire picture. You're not just seeing that one slant. And I've talked to people that are just it's this way or the highway, my way or the highway. And we are taught that from very young, too. We have to go through, as a Christian, I have to go through Jesus or I'm done, I'm lost. And I sometimes say, wait a second, so Jesus came and he was with this small group of Jews, and he left, he was crucified, and then this small sect of Jews formed a little piece of Judaism, and then it took off with Paul the Apostle, who spread it to the Gentiles. But I'm like, what about the people in China and India, the Hindus and the Muslims and the Buddhists, and it's like, how it just seems so odd and I'm going off on a tangent, everybody, but it seems so odd to me that, and of course I'd be rebuked for saying this, that God decided to bring his son to earth just for this little group of people, and then just hope that it spread through the entire globe and that everybody got it right. And meanwhile, there's 40,000 denominations of Christianity.
Right.
And then there's equally, a number of gods in Hinduism, and there's also sects within SECTS within Islam, and on it goes. Okay, I'm getting off my soapbox. But the point is that it just, I struggle with it. And I know that there's a thread, though, through it all. And I think you found it. I know you found it. And I commend you for it, for finding it and being so open. And I have to, after this podcast, I'm going to look in my benefits plan to see if you're in it. Actually, I don't know if I could do that because we have conflict. You might not be able to be my psychotherapist because we already have a relationship, a professional relationship. Okay. We talked briefly about that book, which is fascinating, and we're going to. And Lacey, everybody heard, she promised to come back to talk about the book after I read it. And I want to go back to the other book, Already Human, which I just brought up on the screen, Why the Culture of Self-Improvement is Making Us Feel Broken. You did speak about that a little bit. I want to give you a chance to speak a little bit more about how the book developed and why you developed it one more time, if you don't mind.
Yeah, this one, really speaks to the cultural aspect of the self-improvement industry and how it has taken this, cultural symptom that we've developed, which is I'm not good enough, there's something wrong with me, has taken that symptom and I think kind of exploited it. I mean, it's between the wellness industry, the optimization industry, therapy, self-help, it's like a $9 trillion industry.
Oh my God.
And everybody is claiming to have the answer to this problem.
Yeah.
And these answers that they sell to you often reinforce the premise because they just produce more effort, more checklists, more morning routines, more ways you have to regulate yourself, more data you have to track to see how your heart rate is at this stage of sleep, and on it goes, just to end up feeling tired and exhausted, feeling that you're doing it wrong. And man, there must be really something wrong with me if I'm doing all of these things to help myself and I still feel like I'm not good enough. And I think so much of it is in our cultural noise right now. And ultimately, a lot of these things are telling us to be a certain way that's just not human. It's just not human. And I think a lot of us are really struggling to accept the fact that we're human, and that means we're flawed, we're imperfect, we're going to mess up, we're going to have reactions that are dysregulated and have to apologize later. There's just no way to therapy yourself out of this. And that book speaks to that.
I was smiling all the time you were talking, where I had you on for those watching the video, I had Lacey on one shot of her, and I was like smiling, going, yes, 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 as she was talking. Yeah. Because I'll just tell you, I have back there, behind me, I'm pointing behind me, I have this thing that I just bought that it goes around your neck. It's a vagus nerve stimulator.
A vagus nerve stimulator. Oh yeah, I have one of those too.
I bought it on eBay though, so it's like terrible. But and then the point is, I have this other thing that attaches to my finger, the EM Wave 2. It attaches to my earlobe, and I can meditate with that. I mean, there is goodness to all of them, but it's just me searching and searching and searching to find the solution. And then if I go see a psychiatrist, they're going to be like, the pad comes out. It's like, oh, wait, you're not paying attention? Here's some, here's a stimulant. Okay, you're not sleeping well. Here's something else. Oh, you're feeling depressed? Okay. I mean, I could go to, and I swear, everybody, I have gone to sessions with psychiatrists where, no knock, there's great people. I love, everybody that's in this profession that's helping people, I commend them. But they go to the pad really quickly because that's what they know, and especially today. So I can go in and literally say, I couldn't sleep last night. I just can't sleep. Okay, let me give you some Xanax. Let me give you some benzos. Okay, and I couldn't pay it. I can't. I was trying to read Lacey's book, and I kept getting distracted. Oh, well, here, take this,
Exactly.
And it goes on and on like that. Mm-hmm. So the point of it all being is that I think, again, I'll say it for the 100th time, is going back and developing an analysis of this problem, which we've done, and the issues, and how to address them is the way to go. Now, with that being said, what are steps people can take to get to this? We've gone through the technicalities of it, but let's close off with what people can do that's realistic? What do you recommend if people are feeling this way? The self-worth issues, all the issues we've talked about. I know it's a lot to answer quickly, but you have the floor.
Well, it's a tricky question to answer, and it's something I've struggled with a lot as I've created this, because what I don't want to do is create another model that people follow that becomes effort that then they just use as evidence something's wrong. So the first place I always start is let's zoom out a little bit, because we tend to feel like our problems are so personal. The things we're going through are so individualized and personal, and then the culture reflects back to us. It's on us to fix it. It's on the individual to fix it.
Yeah.
But zoom out for a second and look at the world that we live in. We're more isolated than we've ever been. We have an illusion of connection through social media and the internet, but it's not the same as physical connection. Not getting that social feedback and feeling that nervous system regulate right next to us is a very different experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time we use that to gaslight ourselves of like, oh, I have all these friends on social media. Why do I still feel like this? So, zoom out, look at your life. If you have, a handful of people you can reach out to and talk to at 2 a.m. when you're struggling, you're ahead of the game. A lot of us don't have that anymore. We're lonelier than ever. They declared an epidemic in 2023.
Yeah.
Mental health is on the rise. Mental health issues is on the rise despite more accessibility than ever.
Yes.
Less of us are getting outside, getting good sleep, not eating good food. Let's look at our basics. Just start at the basics. Look at your life in the basics and zoom out and understand you are part of a bigger system that is actively working against your biology as a human being. You are going to have that low-grade stress just by simply existing in this world right now. So let's just level set with that.
Gotcha.
Because we can all feel so burdened by it's all my fault and it's all my responsibility to fix it, and it's not the case. So just zoom out, look at the cultural lens. And then if we zoom back in and look at the premise you're starting from, if people just wonder, what is driving me towards self-help? What is the thing that I'm actually trying to change or that I think is wrong with me? And slow down again and question, do I actually believe that, or have I been conditioned to believe that? And what could become possible if I believe something else instead? Not that you have to believe it, but what becomes possible if you, even a sliver of you, could possibly believe that all human beings are born with worth and dignity, and you are not an exception to that rule. That's where I like to start, because it's just an inquiry. It's just a perspective shift. It's a different way of relating to your experience, which is what it's all about. Change happens through relationship. So we start to relate to the experience differently. It starts to change on its own. One thing leads to another. Before you know it, you feel human again.
Wow. Mic drop. Boom. As you were saying what you said so eloquently, and I very rarely, I when I edit my episodes, I do get to watch and listen, but this one, I mean it. I'm going to put this on the headphones and I'm going to listen to it because I need this. I was thinking about what you were saying about the social media and all that. I started a Substack. And anybody wants to go out and find me on Substack, it's Lens of Hopefulness, just like the podcast. I've struggled so hard to get people to follow me and like and all this other stuff. It's really difficult because there's a lot of competition. And just today I was saying, what is wrong with me? Why aren't people liking my posts? They're so, I put my heart into that picture and I wrote this thing out and what? And I see somebody putting a picture of their cat and it gets my cat is 10 today. And I see it's got 1.4 thousand likes. What? Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
It's definitely me. They don't like me. And this is exactly what you're saying, because I'm looking at and I said to myself, I'm going to start a petition. I would turn off the likes on Substack. Here I am. I'm 67 years old. And I'm so secure. I had a great career. I've been married for almost 43 years next month. 2 great sons my wife and I have. Everything is gravy. And here I am having a meltdown because I'm not getting likes on Substack. It's like so silly.
Yes.
Anyway.
Good to zoom out though, right? It's good to zoom out.
I am zooming out.
Yeah. And not to mention too, man, we're all fighting an algorithm. Like the internet is so competitive. Social media is such a competitive, it's like the new place of human competition is the internet and social media.
Yes.
And everyone's just trying to figure out how to trick the algorithm.
Yes.
We're all doing it.
Thank you
And it's
so
like,
much. That's a copay. You're getting a copay, co-insurance for that. I'm going to send you. Oh, maybe I'll send you a copy of one of my books instead. Lacey, this has been such a eye-opener for me. And I have to be honest with my listeners and with you, because there are listeners listening and watching, is like I was tentative about it's like, what am I going to say today? I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. And I didn't read the book thoroughly enough. And I don't, I've interviewed psychotherapists. Who's going to even want to listen to this? Who's going to even want to? Had this like self-doubt going into this podcast, and it's been lifted. I don't know if you saw it. I'll have to go back to the video. I'll send you the clip. But there was one point where my shoulders just went like this when you said it. It's not always, I don't know, you're paraphrasing, it's not always our fault. It's because of this and that. And my shoulders just went, a burden lifted. A burden lifted.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And I hope there are many others, and I'm sure there are, that have gotten what I got out of this. I'm so happy that we had this podcast. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everything you shared today. It's been really fun.
Thank you, Lacey.
Enjoyed it. I'd love to be back.
Oh, and yes, I am pledging to all my listeners, and we have listeners. I have the stats to prove it, everybody. I'm worthy. And this Lens of Hopefulness is heard on, you can get to it on Substack, Lens of Hopefulness. And you could also get to it just for if you're listening already, it's like, yeah, John, we're already listening, we're already watching. So why are you telling me all this? So you could tell your friends and family and spread it and tell the algorithms about it.
Yeah, tell the algorithms. That's who really needs to know.
tweak the algorithms for us. But it's YouTube, obviously. YouTube, if you're watching this. And it's also on Audible. If you're an Amazon customer, listen to Audible books. It's on Audible. So you can get to it through Amazon Music, I think, or definitely through the Amazon site. And you can get it to it on Spotify. So tell your friends, listen to them on Spotify. They're even better on Spotify. And I think there's another one. I forgot which one it was. There's a bunch of them. I'll have to talk to my marketing team. Hey, people back there, the marketing team. Yeah, John, we're on a break. Anyway, I'm digressing as always. Have a fabulous rest of the day, and thank you again so much for joining.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
This has been Lens of Hopefulness with John Passadino.
Streaming on all platforms.
Spread the word.